The consequences of benchmarking can be given by the experience of a large MNC where the line HR professionals were under pressure from line managers to define HR performance by efficiency measures such as cycle time to fill jobs. The HR reduced the cycle time by shifting from recruiting channels that emphasized college graduates and experienced professionals to temporary agencies and job applicants.
We are highly delighted with the presence of our dignitaries, and I think it is time to call Mr. Krishna Kaushik, Principal Consultant PricewaterhouseCoopers, to kindly share his views on the issues related to the public human resource management processes.
Hi everyone. Just a correction, I'm managing consultant, not principal consultant at PwC. So that's just for the record. But very happy to be here and share my thoughts with all of you. I really heard some very interesting thoughts from the students here. After coming here, I realized that learning is a two-way process. It's not just that you will be learning from me, but listening to the presentations, I was learning a lot of things. And HR is a field that generally is very undermined, and people don't focus too much on that. But listening to these presentations, I felt that HR is one of the most important functions and one of the deepest fields. So basically, how you can make the most out of human capital, because at the end of the day, it's all people, right? So how you can motivate the people, how you can make them perform the best. That's what it's all about. Everything else comes after that. So after listening to you people, I just wanted to. So I have to speak on performance management. And just to give you a background, I have done my MBA from the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And University of Chicago is the #1 university in terms of economics and finance. So everything, I learned my economics at Chicago for the first time. And since then, I have never looked at anything without a microeconomics angle. So everything I look at it is from microeconomics angle. So if you people have not had good exposure to microeconomics, I would suggest that you should learn more about microeconomics. It's the most powerful tool, and microeconomics is applicable everywhere, even in HR. So I'll tell you how microeconomics is applicable to performance management. It's not just about finance, it's not just about business, but microeconomics application is in life everywhere. It cuts its application is there in psychology, its application is there in politics, in public policy, everywhere. Right? So I think I have 20 minutes, right? Okay. So I'll place myself accordingly. When we talk about performance management, the third point I would like to mention is that man is a rational animal, right? So all of microeconomics is based on this concept, and almost every theory or hypothesis and everything that you develop will be based on this, that man is a rational animal. And how do you define rational in microeconomics, right? In microeconomics terms, rational means anyone who prefers more to less. And again, when I say more, it may be satisfaction, it may be money. So today, Anna Hazare may not prefer more money to more satisfaction, but he prefers more satisfaction to less satisfaction. So man is a rational animal is the basis or the premise of all the theories in economics and in every management field. And anyone who does not prefer more to less. And again, in microeconomics, as you get more and more, the value that you attribute to the incremental more that you get will go down. So if you want to have a cup of tea, so maybe tea is not a good example, but let's just say if you are earning money, right? So initially you want your salary to double, triple, and all that. But as your salary increases, the incremental value, let's say your salary is initially 10 lakhs, right? And then you want it to be 20 lakhs, and then you want it to be 40 lakhs, and then a crore or whatever. But as it increases, the weightage that you give to the additional increment that you get will keep on reducing. The value of incremental money coming to you will keep on reducing, but you will still prefer more to less. Even if the value, because you will always prefer 1.5 crores to 1 crore, or you will always prefer $1.5 billion to $1 billion, right? So after that, I would like to come further into incentives. And how do incentives work? And if you're in an organization, how should you incentivize people, right? So everyone wants to know what's in it for me. anybody, if you are a selfless human being, or you are Arvind Kejriwal or Anna Hazare, Baba Ramdev, whoever you are, at the end of the day, everyone asks what's in it for me. It may be money, it may be satisfaction, it may be fulfillment, it may be self-actualization, but it is always what's in it for me. No one does something for others. It's always for your own self, though it may be for the good of others, but your good is tied with the good of everyone else, right? So if you don't incentivize your people, and they don't see what's in it for me, they will never be able to perform to their maximum, right? And the ideal way to incentivize people is to incentivize them on a 1:1 basis. So if today I contribute X units to the corporation or X units to the society, in some way I should be getting a percentage of that X units. And the ideal way of incentivization according to macroeconomics is a 1:1 incentivization. So let's say I create 1 crore benefit for my organization, right? If I get 1% of that, right? I mean, I get 1 lakh, right? If I create 1 crore, I get 1 lakh, right? I would want to create 2 crores, because if I create 2 crores, I'll get 2 lakh, right? If I create 10 crores, I'll get 10 lakhs, right? So the benefit of the organization is my benefit, and I always work for my benefit, right? And the benefit of the organization comes secondary, and the benefit of the society comes after that. But because all of that are aligned perfectly, your contribution to your company directly translates to your personal benefit, and your company's contribution to society. Society should be geared in such a way that the reward corporations for their on a 1:1 basis should translate into a direct benefit to the company on a 1:1 basis, right? So that is the perfect incentive system. And how incentives should be created is like you cannot create a 100% variable system for anyone, right? And what is the logic behind that in macroeconomics is that there are a lot of things that are beyond your control as an employee, right? The macroeconomics is beyond your control, the economy of the country is beyond your control, the competition in the market is to a large extent beyond your control, right? The culture of your company is beyond your control, the top leadership of your country and other people working with you are beyond your control. So there are a lot of things that are beyond your control, right? For that you cannot be penalized. And so there should be a fixed component of the salary that takes into account that there are so many things, so many variables that are beyond your control, and you cannot be held responsible for that. So it's a flat line curve like this. If on the x-axis you have performance, on the y-axis you have rewards, right? So your salary should be a fixed, set line till a certain point. But after a certain point, as your performance increases, it should be going up, slanting at a gradient of 45 degrees. So 1:1 performance. If you contribute $1, you get a percentage of that. It's not necessary that you get 50% or 5% or 1%, something. But as you keep on, if you contribute $2, you should get a percentage of that again. So it's a 45-degree curve. So that's the ideal system. Device people, and people always work in a structure. If you don't give them a structure, they will do whatever they want, right? So it's like keeping the dog's tail in a pipe, right? If you have the pipe, then the tail will always be right, and you have to design the pipe in such a way that there is no room for people's own discretion, right? So there's no room for anything going wrong. So how do you define a long-term focus on long-term benefits to the company? Is like I have a friend of mine who is in energy trading in the US, right? He's an MBA from Indiana University, and I was talking to him, and he said that now he used to get huge bonuses before, maybe $5 million or whatever. I don't know, $500,000 or something, not million, $500,000 or something like that. He had bonuses. But now he says that after the breakdown, something good about the US is that if something breaks down, they do take some corrective action, right? So they have put in mechanisms over there that you will get a part of the bonus as cash, but a part of the bonus will be coming as stock. And once you get the stock, you cannot sell the stock there's a minimum locking period of 2 years or something like that. So you can only sell the stock after 2 years. So what you're doing is, because your destiny is tied with the stock of the company, your destiny is tied with the long-term destiny of the company. So if your company does badly in 2 or 3 years time, then your money also tanks along with it, right? Earlier, people used to get the cash and they can just leave the company with millions in their pocket, right? So that is how you make sure you put in lock-in mechanisms to make sure that people have no room to navigate other than what is the right way to do it, right? That is focus on long-term benefits. And economic value added is after reducing the opportunity cost, what is left? Are you making a profit? And then you measure the person or the corporation on economic value added, economic profit. And that's how you measure a person's contribution. And it's a long process, and they go and implement EVA in HR systems in companies, and they have an elaborate system on how they implement EVA in performance management, incentives and all that in companies, right? I think that's pretty much what I would like to talk about performance management. individual performance, corporate performance, and how it should relate to society, and how incentives should be designed on a one-to-one basis, how self-actualization and how monetary incentives can be important, and how the long-term goal should be kept in mind for performance management. How you should put in systems and structures to make sure it is implemented. Just talk is not enough, theory is not enough, and lectures are not enough. People will behave if they see a room to do something, to maximize the benefit, they will do that. So you should have a system to make sure that that is not even possible. The pipe should always be there, and the downscale should always be in the pipe. But you should hold yourself responsible for creating or constructing that pipe. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. I think he very well described about the benefits, how the alignment can be done through a very well structuring of PMS, how the performance should be measured, and how these performance should be aligned towards the organization development and as well as your societal benefits. And he very well said that your PMS should be transparent and it should focus on long-term aspects rather than focusing on your short-term benefits. Thank you, sir. Thank you for enlightening us about the TMS structuring now.
And we are grateful to have Mr. Vivek Jingran with us, Manager Ameriprise. I request sir to please come and share his experience with us.
Well, hello everybody. How are things going on so far? So far, so good. Very nice. So, actually, when I received this invite, I was given this opportunity to present something on HR analytics. Right. So, I was thinking about how to define this particular topic. So, HR analytics. Can somebody explain me what is the meaning of HR analytics? Doing analytics on HR, so that's pretty simple. So, not to worry about it. It's not a very complicated definition as such. What is analytics as such? Can anybody? Yeah.
Dealing with data.
Dealing with data. What sort of data? How do you deal with the data? I will take you out personally when you come out of how do you do it. Come on, it's just an interactive session. So
Comparing and utilizing the data that we have.
comparing and utilizing the data, I mean, that is one part of it. First of all, another thing is like predicting future, right? Or predicting something that never happened. Just related with a small example. For example, I am playing a cricket match, right? I am very good at hitting sixes, right? Every time somebody calls me, I always hit a six, right? Now, just imagine a condition wherein I am in a society, right? And all the persons are very rich and they are not very apprehensive of giving us back the ball, right? Once ball hits their glass and it goes out, right? So, what do you think? So, what will be the rules of the match will be?
Whoever hits the glass will be out.
Exactly. That's what analytics is all about. Simply you are predicting a future because I will change rules of the game based on wherever I am sitting, right? So HR analytics is simply using the business intelligence, whatever we have. There are multiple stream of data that is flowing across the board. Let it be in terms of like your CV that is floating into the market, that is also HR analytics. When you scrutinize your CV, that is also an analytics. What sort of particular behavior or what are your personality traits, all of these will form part of your HR analytics, right? Whenever you send out your CV to any organization, they scrutinize your CV first, right? Rather than calling you directly for an interview. So what do you think? So what they are doing with your CV? And why do they take an interview when you have a qualification for a reputed institute? Any idea?
They try to match your capability with the job.
Exactly. They try to match my capability with the job. Now, if we talk about HR analytics, the concepts are pretty simple. Whether it be finance, whether it be economics, whether it be stats, all the concepts are pretty simple to understand. But it's just that the availability of data and the quantum of data and the complexity in which the data resides makes it complex enough to form an independent function, right? For example, if I divide it into three parts, right? I am dividing the time period into three parts. First is past, that was there earlier in Raja Maharajaओं के ज़माने में, या फिर it was a small entity. or a village sort of an output. Second is like the environment that we are sitting right now, which is like, we call it a complex environment, and the future, how the future would look like. We would be in a better position to examine as to how HR analytics will help us, how HR analytics have helped us, how HR analytics will help us, and how HR analytics is helping us right now in terms of dealing with our day-to-day problem or issues, whatever we may end up with. Right? So let's talk about past. It was all about me and I. Exactly. It was I who was running a business. Right? So I'm just explaining, there are two ways of understanding the things. First of all is through definitional part. When you take a definition and say that this means this, right? And then you illustrate certain things in a paragraph format. That this is what it is all about, and point number A is less into this, point number B is this, point number C. But all of these are sub-parts of the main thought which is given in the paragraph heading. Right? So the second way to deal with it is like, learn a story and you understand what this answer is all about. What this particular sort of answer is all about. Similar to cricket match that we have just answered. Okay, we need to change a rule. Right? What are those rules? That is going to help us sustain. Help us sustain with, help us continue with our match irrespective of the fact, because we only have one ball. If it goes, and it's gone for a toss. Suddenly I have to change my behavior in order to suit whatever is important for that particular moment, for that particular scenario, for that particular match. Am I right or wrong? Right? So as soon as a company gets created, there were two things that happened. That was I and me always there. Right? Deputy sir just mentioned that it's a reward system. Right? What is there for me in this particular company? Why should I join a particular company? I can have my own business. That's wonderful. But it's limited in scope. Over a period of time, people, they greed found different ways of earning money. And that defines our future, and that's where we are as of now. That is, present is our past future, right? That's very simple to understand now. So as soon as my business needs grow, I might have somebody employed from other parts of the country. Like for example, somebody working for me from Bangalore. He's from Chennai. Or he is from Hyderabad, he is from ABCD, whatever different regions you can. Or I can ask somebody from Africa to work for me, right? I can ask somebody to work from US to work for me. And similar is the case with them as well, right? So I might go over there and work for them, right? I might go and rule a particular department in UK, right? But I mean, just to mention that we were being ruled by UK for approximately more than 100 years. Right? But it's now that Indian companies are growing in such a magnitude, in such a parlance, that we are heading their institutions now. Most of the cases, not that it's not we are the ones who are running their country, but it's just that the immigration have gone up to such an extent. Similarly, rules of game now is changing. You cannot say anybody that you are from Bangalore, your skin is dark, so that is also part of HR analytics. What are the relevant behaviors that people want within you in order to appreciate the cause for which the main company is formed? Right? So whenever us and I meet, there are two things that happen. There needs to be some thread or some connection. For example, if you talk about like old age televisions, they don't have that remote function with them. You need to go over there and you need to switch off or on, or you change the channel, increase the volume. So you need to walk towards TV and switch on or off the volume. And they created a remote, right? They simply detached buttons from the television. But was that all that happened at that point in time? What was required at that point in time? There has to be some connection. If you change the channel on a remote, it should show on the television as well. So there has to be some linkages between you and me, between us and you, right? So, for example, this institution. Why is it that everybody asks you to study more and more and get ahead in your future? Because this institution as well will flourish. Everybody will say that, okay, JK is one such institution where like most of the students study. They study hard and they are very good at their careers in the future, right? So that is something that has to be some connection between these two, right? That's why your teachers are always after your life to study and study. That is going to help you in the future. That is going to help this institution make a place for itself in the future, right? So that is a connection that is, right? Now let's move forward. Now let's talk about some future. How the future will look like. Any ideas? Sorry? I might see trends, what is going on. Actually, whenever we say it's unpredictable, unpredictability is a relative phenomenon rather than an absolute phenomenon. Right? For example, if I say tomorrow is also future. Right? If I say future, 20 years down the line might also be a future. 200 years down the line is also future. So it's depending upon where am I standing as of now and how long I need to predict, that's what gives me relative strength. Right? Based on whatever is going on in market, as of now you are doing an MBA, right? You are doing an MBA from a privileged institute like JK. You go in for an interview, create your JD and you create your interview profile and you go for in a company for an interview. You get selected or you get rejected. Very simple concept. You are creating your own profile. Who is asking you to create your CV? What are the relative strengths and relative weaknesses that you all have? You have to put it down in a particular CV format, right? Send it out to a HR department. If they like you, they will call you. If they don't like you, they won't call you. Or the best answer that they give is like HR will get back to you.